Hello and welcome friends. Today we are going to start the fifth and the last unit wherein we are going to discuss press communication. Right? I hope you understand what press is. By press what do we mean? We mean the print media. Print media includes newspapers and magazines and so on and so forth. So we'll be discussing how to make use of press communication in a business. Right? So this is what we are going to discuss in unit 5. And we will be talking about different tools of press communication, but before moving on to that aspect, we should first of all understand in detail as to what press communication is all about. See, information sent to newspapers to obtain wider circulation through them in general public. So many a times organizations want people to know about them, and so what they do is they many a times deliberately send some news items related to what has happened in their organization, what all decisions have been taken, or what all products are being launched. There are so many things on which news items are sent to newspapers so that the newspapers publish them and people, the general public, get to know about this particular organization. So the whole idea is to reach as many number of people as possible by sending some news article to newspapers, which the newspapers will publish, and this way will the people get to know about the organization. So that is the whole objective behind press communication. Information sent to newspapers to obtain wider circulation through them in general public, among general public, right? Now please understand, press communication is not only important for business organizations, but it is also very important for press or the print media. Why? Have a look at this particular point. This is a major source of revenue for newspapers. How do the newspapers earn their revenue? There is one source of revenue which is the subscription money. For example, if you are buying, let's say, a business standard, you might be paying around rupees 150, rupees 200 per month. So that is called the subscription money, the subscription revenue. And the other avenue of revenue generation is the various advertisements, the various notices given by organizations which are published in the newspapers, right? So newspapers would generally charge money for such publication. So for example, as an organization, if you want your ad to be published in a newspaper, you will have to pay some money to the newspaper, right? So this is another avenue for them to earn something, for the newspapers or the print media or the press to earn something, right? However, please understand, many a times some articles about organizations may get published for free in public interest, right? I'll give you an example. For example, if I want to advertise the seats in the BBA course in Government Degree College, Pithoragarh, one option is to give advertisements in newspapers. Some local newspapers I will choose, and then I will plant my ads, my advertisements in these newspapers. Of course, I will have to pay the newspaper for that. The second option is that the newspapers cover what is happening in our department, but they do not charge anything for it, right? So this is basically called publicity. Now consider for a moment that we have organized some very important event and we have invited students from different colleges across Uttarakhand. Don't you think the newspapers would themselves cover it? They would not only cover, they would actually prepare a report about what has happened in the event and they would put it in one of their editions. Now this would be free of cost for the department, free of cost for the college. So this is what I meant when I said that many a times press communication gets published for free in public interest. And if the organization does not have to pay anything, then this is known as publicity, right? And please understand, you would be studying about publicity in greater detail in your marketing management, which you will be studying in the third semester. Is it okay? So consider for a moment, just for example, that suppose some bike accident has taken place in the degree college premises. don't you think the newspapers would cover? So we will get publicity free of cost. People will get to know about the college or maybe the department free of cost. Or for example, if some of our students crack exams like CAT or exams like GMAT, the names would get published in the newspaper. We would not have to pay anything for it, and this would bring us publicity free of cost. We do not have to pay anything for it, and people will get to know about the college and the department. So this is what basically publicity is, and of course it is preferred by organizations. Why? Because they don't have to pay anything for it. So press communication includes that aspect also, the publicity aspect, for which you do not have to pay anything as an organization. However, it also includes those communication which are sent deliberately to press by an organization so that they can reach wider audience. So the paid aspect as well as the non-paid aspect both comprise press communication. Fine. Now, what are the different types of press communication? Inviting tenders, bids or quotations. Now, tenders, bids and quotation, basically these are different terms but they can be used interchangeably, and I had discussed earlier also that, for example, if an organization, and this happens specifically with government organization, they want to purchase something in bulk, they cannot enter into contract directly with a particular supplier, so they have to advertise their requirement in newspapers or on their websites, and they have to invite bids. What do we mean by a bid or a quotation? These are documents which are sent by the prospective suppliers, and in these documents are quoted the technical details, technical specification of the product, as well as the cost of the product, as well as the price of the product, right? Let me give an example. For example, if we want to purchase computer for Department of Business Administration in Degree College Pithoragarh, what we will do, we will advertise this requirement in the newspaper, right? And when we do this, this will be known as invitation for bids or invitation for tenders. Now a prospective supplier, let's say Venus Enterprises, which sells HP laptops and HP computers, they go through this particular ad which has been published in the newspaper. They would respond to this particular ad and they would give us the technical specification of the computers that they plan to supply to us, as well as the price at which they would supply it to us, and also the date by which they would supply the computers to us, right? Their response, in which they have mentioned all these things, would be known as a tender or a bid or a quotation. And when we are publishing this particular communication in the newspaper that we want computers, this would be known as invitation to tenders or bids or quotations. Fine. We'll be discussing them in detail, and we'll be discussing how to prepare the format for invitation to tenders or bids or quotations in a little while from now, hopefully in the next session. Then press notes and press releases. Many a times organization want the general public to know about what has happened. For example, there might be a change of CEO. Some person might have superannuated, might have got retired, and somebody else might have taken over from him. So we want people to know about this. Or if there is an event, or if we are about to launch a particular product in the market, or if there is a major change in our strategy, we want people to know about this, we want public to know about this. So what we will do, we will draft a press release and we will send it to newspapers, the press, and we'll request the newspapers to publish it, right? So this is another kind of press communication, press notes and press releases. For example, when you come to know that Reliance Industries Limited is planning to invest in physical infrastructure for 5G rollout in the country, this is an example of a press release. Reliance must have drafted this press release and they must have circulated it among the newspaper groups, among the newspaper publications, and the newspaper publications would have actually then published this news. So this is an example of a press release. Now, job advertisement. Many a times organization have vacancies wherein they want to install people, they want to recruit people, and for such cases again we have to advertise such vacancies, and we want such advertisements to reach far and wide, to reach a wider audience. For that, what we'll do, we will advertise our vacancies in the newspaper. So this is another example of press communication. And please note, both these cases I will have to pay the newspaper which is publishing my job advertisements or vacancy announcements, or publishing my invitation to tenders. In some cases, like in press notes, press release, I may not have to pay anything, but at times the newspaper may charge me for this also. Then we have print advertisements. Many a times you advertise your product not only on TV, electronic media, but also on print media, maybe newspapers or magazines. So in such cases, you will have to pay some commission to the newspaper in which you are getting your ad placed. So for example, if Government Degree College comes up with an ad and they have got it placed in the local newspapers like Amar Ujala or Dainik Jagran, they must be paying something to Amar Ujala or Dainik Jagran also. So this again is paid, right? So these are different types of press communication that we will have. And apart from that, many a times we have the addendum notices also. Now, what is the meaning of addendum? Addendum is when you are adding something to a document which has already been published, right? So that is known as addendum. And then we have got a corrigendum. Corrigendum is correcting something. So a document which has already been published, you want to make some corrections or revisions or some modifications, then you actually publish such notices. So addendum notice means, I'll give an example. For example, last month I had published something. I had got some news article, or maybe I have got something published in a particular newspaper. Maybe I have advertised my vacancies, but I want now to add something more to that particular ad which has already got published. So what will I do? I'll come up with an addendum notice. So the document which has been published already, the ad which has been published already, I want to add something to it. So I'll come up with an addendum notice. For example, in the prior publication, I mentioned that there are 15 posts. For example, now there are 20 posts. So there is an increase of 5 posts. What will I do? I'll come up with an addendum notice and I'll mention that with reference to that particular notice which we had published earlier, wherein we had advertised 15 posts. Now the number of posts, now the number of vacancies is 20. This would be addendum notice. Again, if I want to make some revisions, some modifications, then I'll go for corrigendum notice. For example, if by mistake the email ID which was given in the last advertisement was spelled incorrectly, what will I do? I'll come up with a corrigendum notice and I will this time give the accurate email ID. So this is how you come up with corrigendum notices also. So addendum notices and corrigendum notices also you find in newspapers, right? And just one more thing, I hope you remember what we had discussed in official correspondence while we were discussing notices. So there also, when you draft a notice and you want to make some correction, you can come up with a corrigendum notice. Likewise, if you want to add something to a notice which has already been pasted or which has already been released a few days back, what you can do, you can come up with an addendum notice, right? So addendum notices and corrigendum notices, if they are pasted on the notice board in the organization for circulation only among the people in the organization, among the employees in the organization, or among the customers of the organization, then they would be part of official correspondence. On the other hand, when you are giving such notices in the newspapers, this would be part of press communication. So don't get confused between the two. Is that fine? So thank you very much for your time. In the next session that we'll have, we'll start discussing the various types of press communication which have talked about in very brief today. Thank you very much for your time.